Yay, we made it! And welcome to, oh, I didn't change my thing. Hold on, let me change it. We're on day 3. Hold on 1 second. Day 3 of the Better Math Scores Challenge. I didn't change that. So it's day 3. And welcome. We're here. And thank you for participating. I was reading some of the comments as I was coming on, and I am so excited. Um, I wanted to show one of the comments, and I am going to show it once I get to after the recap page. So, welcome, welcome, welcome. Thank you for participating in the challenge. I hope that you are learning so much, even if you have not kept up with, today's. You have the weekend to catch up with the trainings and comment on the post. And I'm looking forward to that because I want to give away this year's subscription to my Math Intervention Academy. I want to. So today I'm going to go back through and remind you all that we have 3 prizes that I'm giving away. One is the 1-year subscription to the Math Intervention Academy. The other one is my course, Fraction Strategies for Struggling Learners. And the third one is 3 digital products from my store. And the way that you can enter yourself into this drawing for these prizes, the person with the most engagement, the person with the second most engagement, that means commenting on the post. And the last one is the person with the third highest engagement. So that's what I am giving this out for, to hear your thoughts and just see how it's going, because what I am here for is to help you all get what you need for standardized testing. I'm looking for this comment. Let me see. This comment. It was just up here. Oh, here it is. And let me go here and see if I can make this a little bigger. So this is Fran Temp. She said, I watched the multiplication progression learning video because I teach 5th grade LDD, which is learning disabled students, self-contained. And this is a concept my students struggle with. I do not expect my students to memorize facts. Instead, I try to teach them strategies to use to help them to multiply. I think the skills I need to focus on are repeated addition, arrays, relationship between multiplication and division. And that is great because the learning progressions are there to help you basically see what mastery looks like and to help you gauge what your students are supposed to know. And here's Kathy. She said, I like how our modules have foundational skills and enrichments listed for each topic. This is the vertical alignment you're talking about. I want to better grasp the learning trajectory so I can provide the intervention needed for my students more easily. So those are some of the comments on our post. So if you haven't gotten your comments in, definitely go ahead and get those. Let me see. There was another one that I wanted to show. Oh, here it is. I think it's not on here. I can't find it. So those are some of the things that I have, comments that I have seen. So let's talk about the recap page. The recap page is here for you if you have missed the actual training. So let me enlarge it some. So we have day one with the day one email, which is the curriculum scavenger hunt. And then we have day two, and day three is learning progression. So day three, the email will be there. And then we'll have days 4 and 5. And this recap page will be up until Monday at midnight. So if you have missed the trainings, you can always access them there. So let's dive right in to today's challenge for the task. Let me go back and read the actual task because I like to do that so that I know what you're doing. So it says, today's task is all about learning progressions, and I'm going to talk about a little bit more in depth about what learning progressions are and what you were supposed to watch one YouTube video from Graham Fletcher's Learning Progressions videos. Then in your workbook, answer these 2 questions. What do your students need to be able to do to master the major themes at your grade level? What do students need to be able to master the minor themes at your grade level? So major and minor themes. And some major themes, I kind of touched on them during the scavenger hunt. But major themes are themes like multiplication, division, fractions. Those are major themes, but there are those prerequisite skills can be major themes as well. So the major themes, prerequisite skills can be addition, subtraction, procedural fluency, and I call it procedural fluency, not just fluency. Procedure means that the students are not having mistakes in their work, and they're very, it's done with precision, which goes back to the actual mathematical concept. They're called, what are they called in Texas? Mathematical practices for Common Core, but they're called mathematical something else for the state of Texas. I forgot. So the math practices, that's one of the things the students are attending to precision, and they have that procedural fluency. So that leads us to Graham Fletcher's his that leads us to his actual video, and I'm going to, I was supposed to skip this ad. Okay, so here's my, I'm going to click subtraction in first grade. All right, so here we are. And the reason why I started with the addition and subtraction, because it is the foundation. A lot of teachers think kids struggle with multiplication and division because they don't know their facts. A lot of times And I wrote a blog post about this. Procedural issues are indication of conceptual issues. So when you're talking about multiplication and division are repeated addition and subtraction, and understanding the difference between the two and how they're inverses of one another. So that's why I started with this. Now he has a couple of the learning progression videos, which are great, which leads to this question: what do your students need to do to master the major themes? Now, if you're a fourth grade teacher and you know that division conceptually and um, visually and conceptually need to be able to do partial quotients and partial products, then your students need to be able to master the prerequisite skill for that actual grade level theme. And that's how it works. So that's the question, that's the answer to that question. What do they need to do to master? They need to understand the concepts conceptually, be fluent with the partial quotients, whether it's partial products, whether it's decomposing fractions, any of those things to master those grade level skills. I'm going to give you an example of how this worked. And I did this year. I'm behind on my curriculum for Algebra 1. And this is gospel truth. And I'm telling you, it works. I didn't teach everything, but I know the themes for Algebra 1. It's linear functions and equations and inequalities and a few other things. But our students took a district level assessment. And I kid you not, I had 8 of my Algebra 1 kids out of 22 not pass the district level assessment, but they were struggling. Some of them had attendance issues, but most of my kids passed. But I didn't teach everything that was on there. And you're like probably saying, well, how is that? Because of this. I know what mastery looks like. And when I pulled my students their data for the actual test, my kids were green in slope. They were green in solving equations with distributive property. They were green with solving equations with distributive property and inequalities. All the things. And they passed. So when you're looking at these things, try not to look at it in its totality or have all this curriculum. Compartmentalize, find those major themes. That is your intervention. It's your intervention. Work on it. And I promise you, you will see your scores move. For example, this week I am working on my small group plan because I've had to regroup. And I kid you not, what I'm going to focus on in small group, because my standardized test is geometry and measurement and solving equations, slope, and all of the things for graphing. And they all are dual coded. So in my small group, guess what I'm focusing on? Solving equations. It's the foundation because the Pythagorean theorem is all throughout the 8th grade curriculum. That's what I'm focusing on. Now, am I going to continue with my ongoing TEKS? Absolutely. But when you are trying to move kids, it's strategic. And you can't focus on all the minor themes that come with it. Some of the stuff, I'm be honest with you, you're gonna be like hit and miss. But where can I get the biggest bang for my buck to where my kids are going to be proficient and get a good foundation moving forward? Because those themes just don't stop. They continue. So if your kids are doing, say for instance, you're in secondary, distributive property is a thing, you need to hone in on it. That was one of the things that I nailed down when I first got my students, although they were struggling. But you know what I did? I went back to the third grade distributive property because I used the vertical alignment, and then went up to the sixth and seventh grade. I think they do have some, but I did eighth grade distributive property. I didn't start with the algorithm. I gave them the conceptual part, which helped them to be proficient in the distributive property. And that goes back to what I said about procedural errors and fluency. Generally, that signifies an issue with the conceptual understanding. And if you peel back that layer, you'll find if kids are struggling with with division, a lot of times they're struggling either with the multiplication, understanding it's an inverse operation, or they're struggling with subtraction, period. And 9 times out of 10, it is not the standard algorithm. It's an underlying cause, always. Because some teachers are like, well, they're not just ready for the standard algorithm. That has nothing to do with it. And I can tell you, I taught fifth grade for a long time. It is not the issue. It's always an underlying issue. And every year when I taught fifth grade, I started off with 2x2 multiplication. Our curriculum called for 2 weeks of division. I'm not doing that. You know where I taught my kids how to do division? In small group. I taught it for a couple of days so that my tier one could get it, because you already know the class is not going to get the division. Come on now, let's not beat the dead horse. Let's work smarter, not harder. So if you know the kids are not going to get it in the allotted time in the curriculum, teach it, master it in small group, continue with your on grade level curriculum. Don't beat a dead horse. If it's a major thing, put that into your small group until the kids cycle through it and the kids are proficient with it. So back to Graham Fletcher's learning progressions. And learning progressions tell you what mastery looks like. And I think that as teachers, a lot of times we don't hone in on what mastery looks like because we don't really know. If you know what mastery looks like, you'll know either if it's in tier one instruction, what your goal is. And knowing what mastery looks like and what your students need to be able to do will move the needle every time. Because when you start marking their work, you're not looking at, oh, did they get it right? Did they master the concept? Can they explain it the way that you need to hear it? For example, we're working on geometry. We're doing Pythagorean theorem. I need to hear certain vocabulary in order for my students to be proficient. If they cannot use the vocabulary, then it's all is lost, because it's a major theme in geometry. You have to speak the language of that particular strand, because they're not going to call the thing a dot. They're not going to call a point. They're not. And like even in elementary, they have the transformations, the rotation, the turn, flip, and slide. That's what teachers tell them in fifth grade. But it doesn't help them. They have to say, oh, I'm going to rotate, because in eighth grade, they have 3 different skills on a coordinate plane. They have the rotation, and they may have a reflection across the y-axis, and you have to figure out where it's going to be. The points are going to be in the new, after you apply the transformation, or you might have to slide it. So they're not going to use that informal language that we use day to day. So if you haven't had a chance to explore his learning progressions, and looking at what mastery looks like at your grade level. Now, I'm going to put a disclaimer on this. This is not for intervention. This is tier 1 instruction, because intervention learning progressions look different based on where the student is starting. And not that it's not related to that, it will look a lot different. So that's just a disclaimer. It's not, don't say that, oh, for intervention, you take it out in chunks of this. Okay, if you're working with the littles, 5 frames and 10 frames, how does 5 frames relate? How do we scaffold that information so that they can get it in the intervention cycle? So hopefully that is helpful, and it helps you to understand how learning progressions help you to move those scores, help you to help your kids master skills. Because at the end of the day, if you don't know what mastery looks like, then you're going to have a hard time trying to move scores because you don't know where the goal is. So don't forget, oh, I don't know why I have it. You can always still download your workbook. They have all the the templates in the workbook from day 1. And now we're at day 3. We have 2 more days, which was learning progressions. And it had the 2 questions in here. So you can always go back. If you have colleagues that you think this information would be great, please send them a link. It's in the description of this live stream. And because it's not too late, I will not be closing down the challenge, like I said, until Monday at midnight. Everything will be dismantled by Monday morning. And they have until then. I'll take down all the videos and I will close the recap page. So that is all I have for you all today. I hope that you enjoyed it. Don't forget to get those comments and posts, comments on the post, so that you can enter yourself for one of the 3 prizes for the Better Math Scores Challenge. So I'll see you all tomorrow for day 4. And if you have any questions, pop them into the comment section, and I will see you all tomorrow at 7 p.m. Central Standard Time. Bye-bye.